Are you the friend who's always giving more than you get, discounting, compromising, or feeling guilty for charging what you're worth? If you've spent years believing that love had to be earned through overgiving, don't be surprised if that pattern has followed you into your business. Today, we're sharing the painful stories of betrayal, burnout, and broken expectations that completely changed the way we approach boundaries, including the surprising middle ground we found when it comes to charging friends and family. Businesses don't create these patterns, but they certainly reveal them. And the good news is they can also become one of the safest places to heal them.
Welcome to Rich in Spirit.
Paid in full.
I'm Victoria.
And I'm Eimanne.
Here, we believe you don't have to choose between spiritual growth and financial success,
ambition and alignment,
or healing and building an abundant life.
Join us each week to quantum leap with both proven, profitable systems and the spiritual insights that will light your way through life's greatest expansions.
Let's step into success that feeds your soul.
There's been a lot going on this week between solar flares and just very busy entrepreneurial lives. So before we get into our episode today, you know the drill. Victoria, can you lead us in some grounding breaths?
I need this just as much as anyone. So today we're going to do a deep inhale into the nose, exhale out the mouth, and we're going to hold a little bit at the top. Whenever you're ready, deep, slow breath into the nose. Hold. Sigh it out. You can shake it out. Let it all go. Let the shoulders come down from the ears. And again, deep, slow, even slower this time, really feeling the stomach and chest expand on the inhale. Hold. Relax the jaw. Sigh it out. Crack your back if you need to as well. And then final deep breath into the nose. Slowest and deepest breath of the day. Hold. Sigh it out audibly. Getting out any wiggles. Getting out any tension.
Do I have to yawn?
Yes, yawn. Yawning is great. Helps relax the jaw.
I'm going to cut my 20-minute yawn out.
You're giving everyone permission to do the same.
Sometimes it's like the air gets caught and you really gotta let it go, you know?
Everyone else better be yawning too while Eimanne is yawning, because if you don't, it means you're a sociopath.
It's way too much.
It means you're a sociopath if you don't yawn when someone else yawns. That's like a real thing.
Oh, it's true. Okay. I might have to yawn again later, but here we go. Today's topic stems from some personal experience, I think on both sides, with boundaries and charging friends and growing businesses and pursuing the life of our dreams and also wanting that life to fuel us back. So I've really noticed that not just people, not just entrepreneurs, not just women, but that's the funnel as you get closer and closer down into this. We struggle with boundaries. Do you find that to be the case too, Victoria?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that especially in the nature of our business, although I've seen it across many industries, but I think especially when you are a coach and you're providing a service and you see someone struggling and you want to help them, and maybe they can't meet you financially, maybe they have X, Y, and Z going on, and your intentions are pure, but depending on how that situation turns out, which I'm sure we'll get into later, it can cause resentments and different things down the line, feeling taken advantage of. So it's important to remember that and to reflect on that when you are having these interactions with friends, with family, with someone who you really want to help, but you know that you want to be compensated. You want that energy exchange, which benefits both sides.
Yes, exactly. It's so important because weak boundaries lead to resentment, lead to burnout, versus clear boundaries lead to respect, lead to freedom, and a better business. So, the other thing I've noticed too is that especially people recovering from, and this is sort of my specialty, but people that have recovered from narcissistic abuse or toxic dynamics or dysfunctional families, they struggle with this kind of people pleasing. And we learn things like saying no is selfish, or being nice is more important than being respected. Love has to be earned. These are just some of the ideas that I think come into play when we are trying to set boundaries in our business. And inevitably, those things are going to keep popping up until you address it, right? Actually, I've been thinking about this a lot lately is like, if you've done any work with relationships, you know that being in a relationship with someone is like having your shadow mirrored back to you, right? It's like having all of the things you need to work on in yourself shining right back at you. They're a mirror for your challenges and opportunities to grow. And I really think, even if you're not in a relationship, if you're working on your business, businesses do that too. Businesses are a mirror for what you need to work on, and strong boundaries can absolutely show up that way.
Yes, I had a coach who was talking about how entrepreneurship is, she was basically saying that it is a self-development journey in itself. Exactly like you were saying, it will show you all your shadows, it will force you to grow, it will put you up against the most triggering situations that you have to figure out. And it can be even more challenging than being in a relationship because when we are in a close, intimate, romantic relationship, platonic relationship, we can let our guard down a little bit and relax and feel more comfortable to have that sarcastic remark or say something mean and we apologize, we repair, we move on. But you can't really do that with a client. I mean, I suppose you could, but there's this level
It's not
of
ideal.
professionalism. Right. It's not ideal. And there's this level of professionalism that you have to uphold in these very trying situations, which, in my opinion, makes boundaries even more important. You really have to stick to your guns and have those uncomfortable conversations when you want to get the sale, you want to work with the person, you want to do what you love, but it's just you got to keep coming back to how am I going to feel about this a week from now, a month from now, 3 months from now, and not self-abandoning in those moments, which I think is a big part of being in an abusive relationship is the self-abandoning to make the other person happy. And so being aware of that can make a huge difference in all of your relationships. I mean, everything's connected. How we do one thing is how we do everything.
Yeah, that's so true. And that is something I see a lot is that even when people escape from these toxic dynamics or abusive relationships, they're still repeating the narcissistic abuse, the patterns that they learned to use to survive that situation is coming up again and again in how they're running their business, but that's no longer serving them. Now it's holding them back. And so they can't move on to the next step. They can't move on to greater success, greater abundance, greater wealth, because they're stuck in this self abandonment, in this people pleasing, in this lack of boundaries area. And so, what actually happens? Like, what are the practical things that are happening when you have weak boundaries?
I think having weak boundaries is not respecting yourself, it's not respecting what you do, and it's not really respecting the other person because the subtext there is, I don't think you can afford this. I don't think you can show up in the same way as my other clients. I need to make an exception for you. It's kind of enabling in a way, instead of setting the boundary and seeing if that person can figure it out. If they really want to work with you, they'll figure it out. They'll come up with the money, they'll come up with the situation. You don't have to bend over backwards for a soulmate client. If you're having to do that, then that is not an aligned client.
Yes, you might have weak boundaries if you are attracting clients who negotiate everything, who expect things for free, And we're talking about beyond your like freebie, right? Beyond the lead magnet, but they expect free access to you. They expect you to be coaching them in the DMs. They are ignoring your policies about showing up late or giving you a heads up to cancel. They are messaging you at all hours. And, maybe some people have high touch support. And so that would be included in your boundaries, but that's clearly stated. And they just don't value your work. You said they don't value it. And that leads to resentment. You stop enjoying your business and you get burned out. And you're enabling the other person, which is what you said, you're enabling them. And that is so true. They don't value the work and they're not going to get the benefit of it if they're not valuing it. So I just saw a very clear example of this. Someone that I was talking to actually was sharing about this other program that their brother was hosting. And it's like a $3,000 all-inclusive business program. And they were talking about how they just paid for it like a year ago. And everyone was like, what? Your brother charged you? Like you had to pay for this program from your brother? That's crazy. And she was honest and transparent and said, no, no, listen, guys, 4 years ago, he gave it to me for free. I never opened it, never touched it once. She had the $3,000 business program for free, complimentary, and didn't use it because she didn't value it, because she wasn't invested. She didn't have any skin in the game. So when she finally realized that she needed the extra help, she needed the coaching program, she needed that support, she put her own money in. And now she has taken the time to implement the systems, to follow through on her commitment, and her investment has more than like 10x'd. Now she's making so much money from implementing those systems, but she never would have done it if she had just, hey, can you give it to me for free again? Can I have the free access? And that's why you're doing them a service by charging, by holding your boundaries firm.
Let's say a friend comes to you wanting your services. How do you approach that relationship, that contract for working with you, especially if it's for an extended period of time?
If someone were to come to me looking for coaching and they were a friend, a very close friend, I absolutely would charge them. Now, recently, I felt called to offer some free sessions to my inner circle, and I reached out to them with this offer, and most of them were really excited to take me up on that. And working in the call, I had no expectations to continue a relationship with them, but if it was an absolute perfect fit, I did offer, and I offered my full price package. Some people took me up on it and jumped at the opportunity. Some people were like, oh, that's not in my budget right now. Okay, no problem. And some people said it wasn't in their budget, but I really, really felt drawn to them. I really felt like this is what you need. I was so convicted that I could help them and I could solve the thing that they were struggling with. And they were exactly my soulmate client. And so there's two people. It wasn't more than that. Two people that I was like, I know I can get you out of where you are and help you build something amazing. I can't give it to you for free. And I didn't do it right away either. I had given them the full price offer, I left it, and then I sat with it for probably 3 weeks or a month. And I let it sit. And I kept tuning into myself, being intentional, checking in. Is this the right fit? Looking at my own intuition, connecting with God. And I felt the pull that I should offer a sliding scale to these two people. And so, with those two people, after a lot of consideration, after time had passed, I offered the sliding scale. And one person was absolutely thrilled and signed on, and one person didn't. And I think that's probably the right call, because if you're going to offer any sort of movement on your prices, it just has to be so intentional. So, have you ever had a situation like that? What are the exceptions for accommodating someone in your mind?
To me, when I was researching this topic, it was very black and white. You either give friends a discount or you don't. And as I was reading about other people's inputs and all the gray areas, I was like, oh, it really has to be intentional and it's based on the situation. But for me, I am guilty. I am guilty of wanting to help people, offering free sessions, offering discounts. And it's funny because rarely people will take me up on it unless they are paying.
What do you mean by that?
I'll reach out and offer a session if someone is going through, or they'll reach out to me. I'll be talking to them. And if they're going through a hard time or they don't have the finances and they're a friend, they're a connection of some kind, I will offer to do it for free. But I think that it is absolutely a boundaries thing where I don't know if getting love is the right term, but I'm willing to self-abandon to meet this person's needs, make them happy, be I don't want to say the savior because it's obviously all very subconscious. Like I'm not intentionally going into the situation with that mindset, but it's like I'm a good person. I'm doing the right thing. But then on the back end, if the person doesn't end up fully committing, if they're showing up late, if they're not taking it seriously, then I'm going to feel resentment. I know that about myself.
How do those relationships work out where you've given them exceptions and discounts?
Well, I've only done it for one-off sessions, and typically the people don't take me up on it. I don't hear from them. I'll offer it, and they're like, "Oh, thank you so much. Sure, of course." But I don't hear from them. Maybe because they either don't want to do it, they realize they don't want to do it, they're nervous to do it, maybe they feel bad not paying.
You feel resentful after that, though, that you went out of your way and self-abandoned, bent your boundaries to make them able to participate, and then they don't take you up on it. And that's when you feel resentful. Is that right?
I guess I'm saying that I would if that were to happen. I know in my heart that if it didn't work out, if they didn't take it seriously, I know that I would feel taken advantage of and that I would feel resentful. And one of the reasons I know that is because when I do offer these sessions, there is always a part of me that's like, why are you doing that? You don't have to do that. They're perfectly capable of paying. And that's just something that's been coming into my awareness more and more of you're offering a valuable service, Victoria. Why are you just giving it away to people and devaluing not only the service, but yourself?
What's the answer to that?
I was talking about this with a friend the other day, and I think subconsciously it's easier in some way to do it for free because there isn't the pressure. Let's say they don't like it, let's say it doesn't meet their expectations or whatever it is, then they didn't pay for it. So it's okay, especially if it's their first time doing breath work, because breath work is an amazing transformational practice, obviously. I teach it, I've done it for years. I've helped a lot of people with it, gotten a lot of positive, pretty much all positive feedback, but it can be weird to do at first. It can be hard to explain until you experience it firsthand. So I think that's why I tend to be like, let's just do a session for free and see how you feel about it, see if you actually like it, and we can go from there. But yeah, I think it always comes down to a worthiness thing.
Hmm.
If you are giving away sessions, if you are afraid to charge the full price, you are questioning your worth at the end of the day. You're questioning your value. There's almost this audacity. It's like, who am I to have the audacity to charge this amount or charge this service, especially to a friend? There's a lot of that going on, I imagine, for other people. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? You have all the evidence that what you're offering is so transformational and so valuable and helpful to people. And there's still this tiny voice inside of you that throws doubt into there saying, I don't know, is this going to work? Is it really going to help them? Can we believe in ourselves? Can we get behind what we're selling? I'm curious what you would do if someone came to you in coaching with that problem and said, Victoria, or you noticed, because a lot of times people don't realize that this is what's going on underneath the surface. But if you noticed someone had a lack of belief in what they were selling, what would you tell them to do?
I would tell them to go back and read all of their testimonials. I would tell them to reflect on their past experiences. I would tell them to come back to their why they're doing what they're doing in the first place. And I would also have them reflect on, let's say they did experience resentment or wondering why they gave something away for free, just reflect on that and also reflect on what their current bills are and financial situation is. Like just like a reality check of why am I giving things away for free? There is no reason for me to be doing that. And it is a double-edged sword, I guess, because a big part of sales and being a business owner is doing things for free. It just is. Whether it's your content, it's a podcast, it's a freebie, it's a masterclass, that is a way to give people a taste of what you're doing. You're going to be doing a lot of stuff for free. That's part of it. And I think that's where the lines get blurred. People keep making those exceptions of, well, I am new. Well, this person's never tried it before. Well, I did this other thing for free for this person. And then before you know it, you're giving away a 3-month program or something. So, yeah, I guess I would just tell them to, like you said, when you were deciding if you wanted to offer a sliding scale to these potential clients, just really sitting with it, getting clear, being intentional. If when you're in that moment where you're interacting with a potential client and you start to get that anxious, oh, I really want them to buy, or oh, I need to get this sale, or I want them to like me, whatever your internal dialogue is, if that starts to come up, you absolutely need to pause and to take a minute, like you said, give them the full price, sit with it for a few days, a few weeks, whatever your timeline is. And if you're like, you know what, I really think I can help them, I feel comfortable offering them a sliding scale, then do that. But in the moment, don't do it to try to save the sale or look like a good person or something that you know later on you're going to regret because you've probably done it before.
Yes, those are fabulous tips. And I would just like to add one thing on top of that, which would be to ask yourself, what is the cost to this person, this potential client, or whatever else you're selling them? What is the cost to them if they don't move forward with me? Because whatever you're charging for your program or your offering, I am willing to bet that you've priced it to be worth what it costs. Probably you've priced it so that people are getting way more value than what you're charging. You are probably underpriced, but let's say even you're priced perfectly. You're probably charging them $2,000, $3,000, maybe $200, $300, wherever you are in your journey, whatever the program is, but the value is 2 or 3 times that. And so if you can sit with that question, what does it cost them not to move forward with me? It probably costs them a lot more than what you're charging. If their life stays the same and they don't move forward with you, they're going to be worse off. So if you can shift into that perspective, into that mindset, and realize the value in your program, that might help combat the fear and the doubt and the lack of belief in what you're selling.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good point. And something that a business owner told me when I was trying to come up with my price for a one-off session, he was like, what would you feel comfortable charging someone if that was the only appointment you had that day? And that was a little bit edgy for me. I was like, I don't know. I don't know if I can charge that. But I think but I think that is a good rule of thumb, like I was saying earlier. And like you were saying, sitting with the value you're providing, sitting with the value of the life that you want to live, that you want to create, that you're currently creating. It all has to fit together. You can't be charging $50 a session, but then have this dream of working remotely on an island or in Bali or whatever it is. It's bringing this future vision of your life into the now. How can you start building that now? It's not like, oh, someday I'll charge that price. Someday I'll stop giving away sessions to friends. No, it starts now. The change starts now. The valuing yourself starts now. And I think it's important to come back to that paired with being of service. We're not finance bros here. We are offering a service. We want to help people. We love what we do. So that element has to be there because I have spoken with other coaches, other healers, where it seems like they're really in it for the money. And it's like the opposite side of what we are describing. And people can sense that too. People can pick up on the desperation. They can pick up that your heart is not in it. And maybe that's a separate topic, but there is a lot of nuance and gray area and different ways to approach it. But how do you find the line between free offerings being of service versus, okay, this is a non-negotiable thing that I am charging for?
There's so many layers to this conversation around boundaries. Like, how do you price? Are you in it for the money, right? Like, we're uncovering all these layers and we're really just touching the surface, which I find so fascinating. And I'm so excited because I'm sure this will spur off a whole bunch of more conversations. When it comes to separating what am I giving away for free versus what am I charging for, I know from the very beginning. I know that this thing I'm creating, I'm giving away for free. And if we're talking to our smart business entrepreneurs out there right now, everything you're making for free should be funneling into your paid offer. We're not giving away things for free. That's actually the wrong mindset. You're not just doing all these freebies for freebies. You're doing the freebie because it funnels them into your paid offer. The freebie is access into your ecosystem so that you can build trust. You can give them a taste of what it's like to work with you, and then you can move forward in a paid relationship. So there's an understanding with all the work that I'm doing, the freebies are valuable on their own. The freebies, I am delivering on the promise that I make to people when they sign up for the freebie. But the purpose of that is to build trust and connection with them so that they want to deepen the work further in the future. Now, do my freebies convert 100%? No, of course not. If somebody's telling you their freebies convert 100%, they're probably lying to you.
Yeah.
But the freebie should be made with your paid offer in mind. And so, yes, you're not getting paid for that, but the energy you're putting into it should be paying you down the road. So there comes a point in your journey when you realize even your free work, you should be getting paid for that at some point in your funnel.
Different webinars and quote unquote freebies that I have attended. And of course, there's going to be a pitch at the end because why else is this person doing it? And people can literally hop on a sales call and be put off by you offering your sale.
Weird about the sales.
And I think this is good for business owners and people who are buying the services to realize it's exactly like you said. This is a funnel. We are doing it to lead to a paid offer because, yes, we love what we do. We're providing a service, but we have bills to pay. And I think that's just a good thing to keep in mind. There's nothing wrong with pitching, there's nothing wrong with selling. Sell your heart out. You have a valuable service that is going to change people's lives. And if you are hiding it, if you are making these excuses of why it's uncomfortable to pitch the sale, you're missing out on an opportunity to help someone that is going through it, that is in the trenches, that would die to have someone like you help them. And for the people that are judging that you're making a sales offer, they're clearly not business owners or they don't have good business practices. They're there trying to get something for free and that's it. And you don't want to work with those people anyway. So don't let that fear stop you from selling your heart out and putting your stuff out there and being visible.
Yeah. You don't want to work with those people and you don't really want those people in your circle. Like if we take this back to our original idea, which was, should you charge your friends for business services? I have a very juicy story on this. I think
Ooh,
it's juicy. I don't know. I lost a lot of friends over this question. Now, when I was first starting out in business, like way back in Hollywood, doing the producing and directing, I read this book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, and I think it's a fantastic book. There's a
amazing.
lot of really wonderful, yes, amazing. There's so many spiritual concepts in there, but it was in a very practical 3D package. So it was easy to understand for someone who at the time I was just entering into this journey of understanding all the multiple levels of life and reality. So I read this book and I loved it. But he says in that book, you should never charge your friends. He says, don't charge your friends. I hope I'm remembering it right. It was a long time ago that I read this book, but it stuck with me. It said, never charge your friends. And so I didn't. Now, I always paid my friends. When I had friends working in my movie projects, I always paid them. I always paid my friends when I went to their shows. I always paid my friends when they started a new business and they were like, oh, I'm selling seaweed wraps now. Cool, let me get an order. I'm doing Kangen water. Okay, let me go to your retreat and pay full price for a ticket. I'm an artist, I'm running an art show. I will buy a custom painting and put it on my wall. I'm that friend. And I think you probably know that. I always pay for your breathwork sessions. I think a few times you've reached out and offered me an emergency session when like I just got out of an abusive relationship, and you've been very generous to do that. But otherwise, like, I'm not going around asking for freebies. This is my friend's business. I want to support them. Who would I want to give my money to? My friends. So it was quite a shock to me when, after years and years of throwing lavish Hollywood parties and open bar and come to my house and pool day and, film screenings, and I'm providing all the drinks. I love to host, so I was hosting all these parties all the time, inviting people for free, networking events, no problem, taking care of everybody, supporting everybody's business. I was releasing my film that I had spent a couple of years working on, that I had raised 6 figures to produce, invested a significant amount of my own money into it, and everybody knew I had been working on it. Everybody saw the behind the scenes. Everybody saw how much of my life I had put into creating this piece of art. And I organized a fantastic red carpet event at this amazing like game center that had a movie theater, and I had sponsors for the event and was offering so many amazing bonuses, right? It wasn't just a movie ticket. This was like a full red carpet with packages, and there was so much, because my mindset was, okay, charge $100, but give them $1,000 worth of value. So that's what I did. I charged $100 for a ticket, but this was a very special, very upscale, top of the line industry people, and I just noticed quite a shift. Now, the industry people had no problem paying it, and the like connections that I knew that were really doing things, really making moves in Hollywood, they had no problem paying it. And some of my friends, no problem, bought the ticket right away. And then there was this separation. A large group of my very close friends, the ones who I had been supportive of for years, asking me for discounts. I don't want to pay. Oh, my budget's really tight right now. Oh, like all this whining and wincing and like, can I just get in for free? I'm going to look hot. Like, what? And I don't know if that was just like this LA mindset, but it really put me off and really opened my eyes to, I was overgiving. I was overgiving with everybody, and nothing was coming back. And no, relationships, friendships are not transactional, right? This isn't about, oh, I give, so you have to give. But when you give and give and give and give, and then no one is willing to support you, take care of you, show up for you, that's a clear sign that those are not relationships worth keeping. And I think that's something else that anyone who has struggled with a narcissist, with toxic families, it's again, they're trying to earn that love. You're giving too much and no one is filling your cup back up. So that really forced me to look at myself and where I was abandoning myself, like you said earlier, and yeah, realize I needed to change my circle and value my time and be surrounded by people who valued my time.
I think it's amazing that you were able to have a full circle moment and be like, okay, I just feel like you learned so much from that experience. And it's learning about yourself, learning about your friends, learning about boundaries. And I think a lot of us have stories like that where we give and give and give, we go above and beyond, and then we start to notice, like you said, I don't want to be viewing this in a transactional way, but there is a line of I'm giving and you're just taking. And that is something to take into consideration. And another thing that came up when I was researching I thought it was like you either pay your friends or you don't. But when I was researching, there was all these different scenarios, which we can get into later. But something I was reflecting on about resentment, and I actually also heard someone talking about this in a podcast recently, is the resentment actually starts with you resenting yourself, and then it's projected onto the other person. Because, like I was kind of touching on earlier, it starts because maybe the person doesn't sense this on a subconscious level, but you're like, why did I do that? Why did I give so much? Then it goes on to the other person, which, not to say any of that is wrong, but it's just something to be aware of when it comes to setting boundaries, when it comes to charging, when it comes to giving. It's like, what am I really mad at in this situation? And what is the lesson I can take from it?
Yeah, that's so interesting because it makes setting a boundary kind of feel like a catch-22. Because I think it's very obvious that many entrepreneurs and many women are afraid that setting a boundary will push people away. And that's kind of true sometimes because it's going to push away the ones who are benefiting from your lack of boundaries, who are taking advantage of you. But what you're saying is that even not setting the boundary on this subconscious level, energetic level, that's going to push them away too, because there's going to be this resentment building up there. And maybe it's not going to happen right away, but there's an inner tension that's going to inevitably cause that to snap as well.
Yeah, I'll speak for myself. It had to get to that point for me to really start setting boundaries because I was like, I'm not enjoying this. I'm being passive aggressive. I'm having these thoughts of why is this person doing this? Why is this happening? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm not even talking about with business. I'm just talking in general. Is it gets to a point where it's like no one is winning in this situation. Maybe they're winning because they're taking advantage, but this is not fun for me at all. And there's this saying in Al Anon, or it might be in all the 12-step programs, and it's like only do it for fun and for free. So it's like only do it for free if it's fun, basically. If you're doing it to try to get something, if there's any ulterior motive, even if it's just to try to get love, try to be liked, to try to be the good person, don't do it. Just don't do it. Unless it's like a completely fun, no strings attached situation, it's not worth it.
A lot of this, maybe for someone who's struggling with setting boundaries, can feel a little bit intimidating and can feel a little bit hopeless. So I just want to offer that, like, at the stage where I am now and the people I see around me now, and I think, Victoria, you probably have seen this as well. The ones who are successful, like the women who are actually working on their businesses, actually making things happen, are happy to pay for each other's services, happy to pay for their friends. And so you reach this level where you're like, oh, all these very successful people are paying full price for everyone else's program. They're paying full price for coaching. They're paying full price for the retreat. They want to invest in the people they believe in. So if the boundary setting pushes people away, that's okay, because you're going to end up in the circles with the right people who respect your boundaries, who will pay what you're worth, and who will make life so much easier and fulfilling and fun. Like you said, I mean, this is a little bit different context, but it's fun and it's relaxing and there's freedom there. Having the courage to set the boundary now and to put your foot down now and respect yourself will call in the right people who will support you and get behind you and allow you to live the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point about moving up in life and raising your vibration. And then the more and more you do that, the less this is even a conversation because people value each other. It is low vibration, bad vibes. I'll go as far to say to expect things for free, to mooch off of people. And that's a different energy than someone who is just giving away for free. I understand that, but yeah, if it feels like we were talking about earlier, if it feels like right now for you that people are constantly trying to mooch off of you, constantly trying to get things for free, you need to check your energy. That is the responsibility that you have in it, is what vibration am I at? Where am I at energetically? And to say that in a non woo woo way, it really just comes back to valuing yourself, saying no, doing the uncomfortable thing, and people will stop asking you for free shit. That will change. It
Yeah.
starts with you. It's not just this thing that magically you wake up one day and all of a sudden everyone wants to pay you $1 million for 6 months of your time. It starts with you saying no to that person in your DMs who's breadcrumbing you and you know is never going to buy and is just kind of trying to weasel their way into getting whatever they can. Like you were saying, getting free coaching in the DMs. It starts with telling the universe, telling God, I'm not settling for this behavior.
That's right. Yes, you put it out there, and better boundaries create better businesses. It's not a wall, it's a filter. Better boundaries, putting that into place is going to call in better clients. You're going to have higher commitment, better testimonials, more referrals, and you're not going to burn out.
Yes, let's talk about the burnout piece. Like,
Mm,
because that's
let's.
a big buzzword right now. So, what do you think, and this can be in this topic or just in general, how would you describe burnout? Because I've heard it described a few different ways, and what do you think is the root cause of it?
Hmm. How to describe burnout. I can feel what burnout is. Burnout is when you've been go, 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 pushing yourself, ignoring your boundaries, and you just reach a point where you can't go anymore. And even something that used to make you feel excited and passionate, you just don't even want to get out of bed. And you're like, but I'm living my dream life. How can I be living my dream life, pursuing everything that I want to pursue, and I'm miserable? That comes from burnout. I just recently experienced this a little bit. It didn't get to burnout. I didn't get there, but I could feel it coming on. And in the past, I would have pushed, and kept going until I got to burnout. I definitely used to be the person who was like, okay, time to work super, super hard. And then I would need like a week or two, nothing, because I was so burned out. I had expended all of my energy, often on the wrong things. I think burnout is contributed to by misaligned energy, by putting your energy in the wrong places and not seeing a return. And so you're like on the hamster wheel going over and over and over again, and you can't get anywhere. And so, of course, you're just tired and you need a break. And I would need these days where I'm like, I can't get out of bed. I can't change out of my pajamas. I'm not doing makeup. I'm going to binge some Netflix show. And luckily, I've grown past that to the point where now, if I start to feel a burnout, I know to take a step back. I know to double down on my somatic exercises. I have a number of tools available. I can catch it now. I can create safety for myself instead of pursuing this external validation and sense of belonging or love that maybe I'm seeking from childhood trauma or my narcissistic relationship in the past. I stop it. I stop it and I shift gears. And so the reason it came up recently was because I had a free offering for a clarity session and there was so much demand. It actually surprised me because I was deepening a new area of my coaching practice. And this is the area that I really feel like I'm incorporating my lived expertise in offering my business skills to people who have survived narcissistic relationships and dysfunctional, toxic family dynamics. Basically, a narcissist, right? If you've survived a narcissist, I'm going to help you grow your business. And in deepening that area of my practice, I wanted to celebrate by offering a free clarity call to people. And immediately I booked out for 30 days and I had too many sessions available. It wasn't like I had one session a week available. Because I'm living in Japan and I'm working internationally and remote, I have a lot of times available because I wanted to test out like where are my people coming from, what times work for them. So I had a lot of options and every single booking got taken up in like 2 days. And I was so excited, right? So grateful, so abundant, so thankful, and looking forward to serving all of these people. And a little bit hesitant, like, oh my God, my schedule is going to be crazy for the next 30 days, but that's okay. And then I was met with quite a few no-shows. And that was disappointing, mostly because I felt like they had taken time from someone who really wanted to have a meeting with me, and they delayed others who were really eager for their meeting and then had to wait like 3 weeks. That was the beginning of resentment. And luckily, I was able to have the right perspective on it. I didn't get negative. I didn't get down. I continued to look at it as a learning opportunity. I'm refining the funnel, refining my offer, and refining the clarity call. So I don't have that free clarity call just available to anyone anymore. There's an application. Because the demand is so high, there's an application. And that is getting me more qualified leads, people who actually respect my time, who are showing up, who are invested in doing the work on themselves. So when you start to notice burnout, pay attention to where it's coming from and how you can make adjustments to fix that. And there are ways to do it.
Absolutely. I was hoping you would say that at the end because that is such an important point is I feel like so many people stay in this loop for years, if not their entire career, where they're being taken advantage of or they're allowing themselves to be taken advantage of. They're not saying that you did this at all. I'm just saying in general, they allow themselves to be taken advantage of, they're giving things away, and then it just becomes this thing that they're continuing to complain about instead of you learning the lesson and being like, okay, I'm going to structure this in a different way. I'm going to block out more of my time. Everything is a learning experience. And the more we can look at life that way and learn, make the change, I think that's the solution to every issue, maybe, is if we just
Yes.
take if we just take it as a lesson, we learn, we adjust. Maybe we have to adjust again in a few months and
Yeah.
few years, but you just keep making that change. And it is such a testament to honoring yourself, respecting yourself, not self-abandoning, staying with what works best for me first and foremost, because what works for me and fills my cup is going to be the best thing possible for my clients, for my family, for my friends. I don't want to show up to sessions resentful, passive aggressive, exhausted. I want to show up focused, energized, full of life, excited to be there. And life happens. I know one of my former coaches was talking about this the other day. She has a toddler, and she was saying that she prioritizes working with people who also have children because she was like, I need someone to understand that I am going to be showing up on 3 hours of sleep and exhausted. And that's just the period of life that we are in sometimes. But whatever we can do, whatever is in our control to take care of, to change, to adjust, it is our responsibility to do that. It is not everyone else's job to cater to us. So I think that's just a really beautiful example of that.
Yes, that is 100% right. And there are practical boundaries that are easy to implement that every entrepreneur should have, right? Something like office hours. We've all heard, oh, I can't separate work from life. Set some office hours, even if you're working from home, even if you're freelance, set some office hours. There is always going to be a fire for you to put out with your business. You have to separate, you have to have a hard stop, because if you don't respect your time, no one else will respect your time. Payment before work begins. Set the rule. That's your policy. You're gonna get paid first. Maybe if you're like an editor or something, you have a limit on revisions, or graphic design or anything creative like that. You have a limit. All of these go into your policies, right? And maybe sometimes it takes some figuring out to create these policies, but have a cancellation policy, have a no-show policy, expectations in regards to communication. And friends don't get to skip this process. This applies to everybody. Are there any other ones, Victoria, that you would say like really helpful practical boundaries that entrepreneurs can implement right away?
I definitely think charging beforehand because I have had people ask if they can pay after, and I had to set that boundary and be like, no, I'm not preparing for this session, taking an hour of my time, doing all the things, got my playlist, all that for someone to not, I mean, either not show up or just straight up not pay me. We can just take that off the table by making sure people pay ahead of time. And of course, consultation calls are a different thing. Yeah, I would say it's different for everyone. And I actually do have a little list here. I'm just going to go through it really quick because there are many different variations of working with friends and different boundaries for each one, but I'll just go through it quickly. The first option is always charge friends your full rate. And then there's charge, but give a friends and family discount. I only gift services when I choose, which I think we both kind of are there, where it's like,
Gifting intentionally.
yes, gifting intentionally. Close friends don't pay. So that's, I guess, picking and choosing. And then this is where my boyfriend is at with all of this. So he's had his business for 15 years and he has a painting business. And when he would do work for friends, he said even if he wasn't intentionally wanting to give them a lower price, when he would do the estimate, he would just subconsciously give them a lower price. Like he could not charge full price to his friends. He had a block there where he wasn't able to do it. And there have been so many times where he's like, "Oh my God, I'm not making any money on this job. These supplies ended up costing way more than I thought." And I'm like, "This is why you need to charge full price." Because yes, in the moment when you're giving the estimate to your friend and they're excited to get this lower price and it feels good to make someone happy and be a people pleaser, at the end of the day that's what it is. Later on, how many times are we going to have this conversation of, "Oh, I actually didn't charge enough and the supplies and the whatever." So thinking about the end game. So where he's at right now is he's like, "I just don't do work for friends anymore." He's like, "I do not mix friends and business."
Some people say that, but I think it's so interesting that this is not just a woo-woo spiritual sensitive woman problem. This is something that every entrepreneur faces and everybody struggles with. And yeah, there's so many different philosophies, right? Don't mix friends and money. Don't mix friends and politics. But I guess you have to figure out what works for you. But Lou seems to have discovered that he does need to have a boundary around working with his friends.
Yeah,
And
I
that's
think
don't.
until
Don't.
yes, exactly. And yeah, I think until he can maybe work through that and come to a place of setting the boundary where I'm going to charge you full price. I think until then, yes, he feels it is better for him to just not work with friends unless he feels completely comfortable doing it for free. He said if it's a small job and he can fit it in, like they need a door painted or something, and he's comfortable doing it for free, he would rather do
Mm.
that than have this big job that he's giving a discount on. And here it says it's harder to give honest feedback, harder to enforce contracts, money changes relationship dynamics, friends may expect extra access. If something goes wrong, the friendship suffers. So, yeah, I think you can avoid all of this by having the clear boundaries from the get go. You have to give yourself a pep talk before that conversation. I am not going to waver on this. I am not going to change this. This is what it is. Because that's another thing going back to the resentment starting with us as we go in with an idea, we're going to do this. And then we get in the conversation and we start to change and, oh, I guess I can do this. And then afterwards, it's like, damn it, why did I do that? And that's where it starts to come in.
Pause. Before you say yes to anything, this is probably just a good philosophy. Pause. This is good for people who overcommit, who overgive, who are wobbly on their boundaries. Just take a breath. Like we do at the beginning of each episode. Just take a breath. You're more uncomfortable in the silence than they are. It's okay to have a moment of silence to just pause and check in. And you can say, give me some more time to think about it. You don't have to commit right away. If something's coming up and you need the time to get intentional with how you're going to move forward, just pause.
Yes. And this just popped into my head. Think of someone you know who you have so much respect for, who is very honest, very truthful. Maybe they have a similar business to you. They don't have to, but maybe they have a similar business to you and you aspire to be like them. What would they do in the situation? Would you even think to ask them for a discount? Probably not. What energy
Yeah.
are they embodying when they go into a clarity call, when they go into a meeting, when they go into a session? And something you can try on is having an alter ego when you go into this conversation of taking on this energy, because if you are admiring that about someone, that means it lives in you. It's something that you have not tapped into in yourself. So you can sit in that and be like, what does it feel like for me to be this embodied, boundaried person? How would this person react and respond in this situation? How would my future self in 10 years respond to this situation? Because you are your future self. You are that self right now. Time is not linear. So, what do you have to activate before going into this call? And also, fear of conflict. That's a big thing that I have been working through that can cause people to fold in these types of situations. And so it can be helpful to think, what is the worst possible thing that could happen? Like, what is the worst case scenario? 9 times out of 10, it is nowhere near as bad as are making it in your head. I mean, what they say, no. They say, you should give me a discount. I mean, you're not going to die. It might be uncomfortable. It might be painful, but you're going to survive. Yeah, it just comes back to self respect, valuing yourself, knowing that at the end of the day, you stuck to your guns and you did what felt best for you. And if you did change your mind, it came from you. It didn't come from being worn down by someone else or allowing someone to force you to change your mind.
Yeah, and even though that's uncomfortable, we grow in the discomfort. You might be a little bit uncomfortable holding those boundaries, but you will grow so much. And you will grow in your business, in your relationships, as a person. Your business will grow to the level of boundary that you can hold. Every time you say yes to something that drains you, that is a compromise, you're saying no to your energy, to ideal clients who are willing to pay full price, to your future. So setting boundaries doesn't push people away. It makes room for the right ones.
Exactly. Mic drop.
Mic drop. Is there anything else you want to add, Victoria, before we wrap it up here?
I think that's everything. I think we covered it.
Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. If there's one thing to take away from today's conversation, it's this. You don't have to earn your worth by overgiving, discounting your services, or saying yes out of guilt. When you value your time and energy, the world will reflect that back to you with clients who do too. So this week, we invite you to hold just one boundary that you would have avoided before. And notice what shifts, both in your business and in yourself. This helped, subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to stop people-pleasing, strengthen your boundaries, and build a business that truly supports the life of joy and freedom that you want, we'd love to help. You can book a free coaching call with either of us using the links in the description. Until next time, stay rich in spirit, paid in full.